Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of the greatest story ever told. This goes back to December 28, 1946, the fifth and last of a series of 5 Christmas dramas, Flight into Egypt.
The greatest story ever told.
Tonight we present Flight into Egypt, the 5th of 5 Christmas season dramas about the birth of that child who was to live the greatest life ever lived. The scene, the bustling city of Jerusalem, a city of secrets which the oppressed pass among themselves concerning the oppressor. But one bit of gossip passes freely this day among all the people and among their oppressors as well. And even now it has reached into the palace of cruel Herod, who stands looking down from his balcony.
Your Majesty sees something below in the streets?
Tell me what you said before.
About the people?
About those shepherds.
Oh, that. Well, these shepherds were heard to be going about Bethlehem speaking about a child, a miraculous child. Some said they were drunk, but others said they were inspired. Inspired in a holy way.
And the child? What about the child?
Well, the shepherds were saying that the child was born to become king of the Jews.
Ah.
Oh, surely you don't believe that any child born in Bethlehem of poor parents could ever grow to be king here?
It happened to David, didn't it? He was a poor shepherd, wasn't he? He became a king.
But those were other times, Herod. You can't allow yourself to be upset by every passing bit of gossip. Gossip runs rife at a time when great events are taking place. And this order to go and be counted for the Roman tax is such an event.
Be quiet, Asa.
Your Majesty is troubled.
Asa.
Yes, Majesty.
We must get to the bottom of this. I want spies sent to Bethlehem immediately. I want inquiries made. I want those shepherds brought here to me. I'll find out what all this talk about a king being born really means.
But, Majesty, your position is secure.
A king's position can never be secure. Do as I say. Dispatch men to Bethlehem at... Quickly. Open the door. It may be more news.
Yes, Majesty.
Well, come in. Come in. If you have word, come in.
Majesty, news. Important news.
Well?
Visiting dignitaries, and we've made no preparations to receive them.
Who comes visiting me? I'm expecting no one. What are you talking about? What are you trying to do?
Please, Majesty, I'm only telling you what happened.
Well, tell it all. Quickly.
Majesty, 3 men have come through the main gate of the city this morning. They're obviously important men, not mere travelers, but emissaries from another land. They're well-dressed, riding fine camels, and one camel is devoted to carrying fine gifts, beautifully wrapped.
Gifts, eh? For me, no doubt. They've come seeking a favor.
I don't think so.
What do you mean, you don't think so?
The way they talked. Our sentries followed them just to be sure.
Well?
The 3 men didn't come to the palace. They went among the people, asking one question.
The question?
Majesty, I only quote them.
Speak up!
They asked, "Where is he that is born king of the Jews?"
Aye.
Majesty, please.
Take your hands off me, sir. I'm all right. 3 men come seeking the king of the Jews.
There was more, Majesty.
More?
They said they'd seen his star in the east and came to worship him.
This must be gossip.
The captain of the guard heard it himself. Shall I bring him to you?
Yes, at once. Now, wait.
Majesty?
Bring me the high priest of the temple first.
Yes, Majesty.
And as for the 3 men, I want them watched.
What is it this time, Herod? Another order that will be painful to the people?
You priests are always worrying. Well, this time I only want a little information about your religion, your folklore.
They are not the same.
Of course not. Badly phrased thought. About your religion, however, is there any prophecy about a king being born? Special kind of king for the Jews?
There is a prophecy.
Yes?
My people have been promised the Messiah.
Messiah, eh? Tell me more.
It's nothing you'd like to hear.
I'm interested. Tell me more.
The coming of the Messiah portends a new era in this world. Things will change. Governments will change. Even kings can't stand against it.
This prophecy, does it say where this king will be born?
It could happen in only one place, in the town of Bethlehem, here in Judea. The prophecy says it must happen there.
Bethlehem. Tell me, priest, do you believe the prophecy?
Does it make any difference if I believe it?
That's no answer.
That's my answer.
It's insolence.
It's enough that you believe it, Herod.
I didn't say I did.
Then what is there to be so fearful about? Am I free to go now?
Get out. Get out!
Thank you, Majesty.
Hey, sir! Hey, sir!
Yes, Majesty. Well, did he tell you? Is there a prophecy?
Hey, sir, the 3 strangers, bring them here. Maybe I can learn something from them. Bring them to me.
But to seize 3 foreign dignitaries...
I don't care how you do it. Bring them here at once. Now, wait. Perhaps we can extract more from them by friendly means. We shall invite them to dine with me. That's it, Asa. The 3 strangers shall dine with me. And so you came from your native land to visit Judea?
May I correct your Majesty? We came not from one land, but from 3 lands, each from a different place in the east.
Really? Oh.
It's what made us even stronger in our determination to follow the star to our destination.
Star? You follow a star?
That's what makes us so sure. To each of us, in his own land, the star appeared at the same time some weeks ago. As it happens, we are all of us students of the heavens. Isn't that right?
Yes, Majesty, we are.
So each of us set out individually to follow this star which appeared so strangely in the skies. And it brought us together, so that together we came, seeking the newborn King of the Jews.
I see.
Of course, Majesty, we are deeply grieved that we are here in your presence without suitable gifts. But we hadn't expected such a greeting from Herod himself.
But they tell me, wise men, that you did come bringing some gifts.
Those gifts for the newborn king. Those we couldn't disturb.
Could it all be a fancy of some kind? The star, the newborn king? How do you know?
We've asked ourselves that many times since we first met in our journey.
And you've agreed on some answer? Surely men wise as you 3 are.
If there is any consolation in being wise, Majesty, it's that you know at some point knowledge must end. And where knowledge ends, there believing begins.
I see. So you'll search till you find him?
We must. We must worship him. We must lay our gifts before him.
Surely I can do no less myself.
I, for one, don't understand.
Such a child born in my province. I should pay him honor too. And I will. Wise men, do me a great favor.
If we can.
You can. It's a simple thing. When you find the child, come back to me. Let me know where he is, who his parents are. I want to worship him, too.
Majesty, we'll do it on our way back.
Good, good. This child shall receive such attention as was never paid to any child before. Believe me.
December 28, 1947, The Greatest Story Ever Told on Classic Radio Theater. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. December 28, 1947, The Greatest Story Ever Told, Flight into Egypt.
Well, Asa, no need to fear now. And no need to search for the child either.
You've got news I haven't heard, Majesty?
No news, only cunning. The child will be found for me.
The three men?
The three wise men, yes.
Well, are you sure they know?
I'm convinced of it. A star. They follow a star.
Then maybe we should follow them.
No. Don't upset anything. Don't make them suspicious. They'll bring the child to me, or me to the child. Either way, I'll make short shrift of this king.
To intrude so late at night.
We must, Casper.
This is the place, isn't it?
We've been to all the other inns. It's this inn, no doubt.
Who's there? No room, no room.
We've come seeking a child here.
Child? What is it with this child that so many come seeking him?
You mean there were others?
Shepherds came a few nights ago, just as you.
Did you hear, my friends? Others have sought him out, too. This is indeed the child. May we enter?
I told you there's no room.
We only want to see the child.
Then come in. It's this way. They're no longer in the stable. Come. This room here.
Yes. Who are these?
The child. Everyone wants to see the child.
Oh?
Mind you, I want no more disturbances. When these friends of yours depart, you'll bolt the door after them. I need my sleep.
You three, you've come to see the child.
Yes, friend. Who are you?
My name is Joseph. A humble carpenter chosen for a duty I hope I'm worthy to fulfill.
The child. The mother.
In here, my friend. But softly, for he sleeps.
Yes. Softly. The child. We must kneel, brother.
Mary. Mary, they worship him.
Joseph.
And the mother.
We've sought you and the child a long time, across desert waste and plains and mountains. We came seeking you. If I stare, my lady, forgive me, for such a face as yours I've never seen before.
And shall never see again. But the gifts, brothers.
Yes, the gifts. For the child, Joseph. We've brought him gifts. I lay mine at his feet. Gold.
frankincense,
myrrh.
Gifts. Merry gifts for the child.
Joseph. Joseph.
Who calls? It's a voice I've heard before.
Joseph.
You. The angel. The angel. Why have you sought me out a second time? Have I failed?
Joseph, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt. And be thou there until I shall tell thee. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
Destroy the child? No. We'll flee now in the dark of night. I've heard your word, and I will take them, mother and child, away from this place. And may the night be long and dark to cover our flight.
Hey, sir!
Yes, Majesty.
There must have been some word of those three wise men.
Nothing yet, Majesty. I await reports every moment.
But they said they would return.
They did not return.
And no trace of them? Is Bethlehem so big a place that my own sentry can't find them there?
They've escaped, I told you.
Quiet.
Yes, Majesty.
Jacob. You found them. Well?
Nothing, Majesty.
They couldn't have disappeared off the face of the earth.
They might as well have.
Surely someone must have seen them in Bethlehem.
No one last night, no one this morning. They may never have arrived in Bethlehem for all we know.
The priest said Bethlehem was the only place where the child could have been born.
But no one saw the three old men. Majesty.
Yes?
Majesty, would the people ever cooperate with you? Would they tell you if they did see?
You mean the three might have been there? Found the child and gone?
Why not? And who would tell Herod's sentry?
Yes.
Yes, we shouldn't waste time with the three men.
You're right. The child. The old men can do me no harm. But the child. The newborn king.
Yes, Majesty. The king.
He must die.
He must be found first.
He must die.
Yes, but how can we? We must find him first.
You may be able to kill him without finding him. Did you ever think of that, Asa?
Majesty, please, we mustn't lose our heads.
You think I'm insane? You think I don't know what I'm talking about, you rat?
No, Majesty, of course not. But in one's excitement, one can say things.
Can one? Well, I happen to know what I said and what I mean. Even if we never find out which child it is, he shall still die in his cradle.
No, but Majesty...
You fool! Kill the one child I fear. I may have to kill them all.
Majesty!
Why do you stand there looking like that?
Well, the people would complain to Rome.
Let them.
No, but such brutality.
And what will Rome say? This Herod is a man of power and principle. He killed his own son, didn't he? Well, didn't I?
Majesty, please, others will hear.
Let them hear. You think it was ever a secret? They talk about me behind my back. I am king and I have no secrets. But I'm strong. So I have no fear. Every child.
Oh, but Majesty...
Child is newborn. And what does newborn mean? A day, a week, a month, a year? I won't be cheated by technicalities. I order it now that every child not yet 2 years old shall be considered newborn for the purpose of this action.
Every child up to 2 years old? Oh, that's more than a few.
I don't care if it's more than a great many. That's the order. You heard that, Jacob.
Yes, Majesty.
That's not all. We must be sure. I must be sure.
What else is there to think of, Majesty? Isn't it enough?
Wait.
From December 28th, 1947, directly from the Bible, The Greatest Story Ever Told, and Flight into Egypt. The conclusion comes up in just a few moments here. I'm Wyatt Cox. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station.
Here's a great thing to consider doing right now before the end of the year. Call Medishare and find out just how much you would save by switching to Medishare, the affordable alternative to health insurance. When you call, you'll get some good news and probably be very happily surprised, too. The typical family saves $500 a month, but you might save even more. It's so worth it to at least find out. And you'll see why more than 400,000 people are already members. Medishare is a Christian community that's shared more than $4 billion in each other's healthcare costs. It really is remarkable, and they're very easy to talk to. And here's the thing. If you join before the end of the year, they'll waive your new member fee. That's another $170 you'll save. I'll give you the number here in a second. The call, and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 31st, so call now. You'll save even more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Now the conclusion of The Greatest Story Ever Told, December 28, 1947, and the flight into Egypt.
Of course, the child was born in Bethlehem. Does that mean it must still be there? Perhaps they moved the child. I'm moving it even now.
Who would move a newborn child unless in great emergency?
I told you I won't be defeated by any technicalities. The prophet said Bethlehem. But maybe the prophecy is elastic. After all, it was made hundreds of years ago. We must be sure.
Bethlehem has been Bethlehem for hundreds of years.
Till I will be sure.
Asa is right, Majesty. Bethlehem is Bethlehem.
Bring me a campaign map. There on the table.
Yes, Majesty.
Child. Who could it be?
The map, Majesty.
Find me Bethlehem.
Here, Majesty.
Quickly. Something to make a mark. No, never mind. I'll do it this way.
Oh, Majesty, you destroy the map.
I know. There, Jacob. This part of the map you take with you. It is Bethlehem and every town around it. Search it all, just in case they try to escape me. Every child, everywhere. In towns or farmhouses or on the roads. Wherever you find them. Hold out your hand.
Yes, Majesty.
I place this part of the map in your hand. Close your fist.
Yes, Majesty.
Now go. Don't return to me. Don't give back to me this piece of map until it becomes proof. Proof that every child up to 2 years of age in this whole area is dead. Whether found in a town, a field, or on the road.
Yes, Majesty.
How long can it take?
Oh, please, Majesty, calm yourself. The order is being carried out.
I know. But I can't seem to rest till I hear it from Jacob himself.
This is a day they won't forget.
Don't worry about them.
Majesty.
Well, Jacob?
Done, Majesty. Done.
Piece of map.
Here, Majesty. Here.
Good. Well done, Jacob. There'll be a reward for you. Jacob. Jacob, what is it? Speak!
Majesty, Jacob is not himself anymore.
Take the blithering fool out of here. Job is done. I wonder, just where, just when, did that one child, that newborn king, die? It would be interesting to know that, Asa. In any event, he's dead. Dead. And that's all that matters.
Mary, it's been a long night. Judea is almost behind us now. Once our people fled from Egypt. Now we flee there for safety. Over the same road, the same desert of Sinai. Even past the mount where the 10 Commandments were handed down. We follow the voice of the angel now, as we did before. All will be well for you, Mary, and for the child. Oh.
Joseph?
We must stop here for a moment, Mary. Our land. This is the last we shall see of it for a long time. Dark and peaceful seems the land of Israel now. But beneath the darkness, turmoil and strife and suffering. I don't like to leave Israel to its agony. But one day, Mary, the word of the angel shall come to us again. And then we shall return. We shall return, Mary, to Israel, land of our forefathers. And the child shall be with us.
December 28, 1947, the greatest story ever told on Classic Radio Theater. Mike Lindell, the inveterate CEO of MyPillow, wants to give back to listeners. You can get great discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Deep discounts on all MyPillow products, like the buy one, get one free special on Giza Dream Sheets. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. Call 1-800-951-8175 or go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Use my promo code USA. Just a reminder, if you haven't found our podcasts lately, they have moved. We have now moved over to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. So search in your podcast app for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, okay? Now on Classic Radio Theater Part 3 of the 5-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Forbes Matter. This originally broadcast December 28, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Ed Gumby, Mr. Dollar, attorney for Sheldon Forbes.
Oh, hello, Mr. Gumby. How are you?
Oh, I don't know. The hearing's been set for 2:30 this afternoon.
Okay, I'll be there.
No need to, particularly. As I told you yesterday, he requested me to waive trial and plead guilty.
Well, won't he be sentenced today?
No, this is just a preliminary hearing. He'll probably be sentenced before the week's out, though. The court will simply consider the waiver and inform him of his rights today.
Oh. Anything I can do?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to try to talk to him again and get him to reconsider the waiver. I doubt if I'll have much luck, but I'll try. All he has to do is return the money he stole.
Well, buck up, Mr. Gumby. If he won't return it, maybe someone else will.
What do you mean?
I'm going to try and find out what he did with it. My company wants it back, sure. But we also want Forbes to have a fair chance.
You're pretty decent, Mr. Dollar. Thanks.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Continental Adjustment Bureau, 418 Elizabeth Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Forbes matter. Embezzlement and a very frustrating case. Expense account continued. Item 6, $3.50, lunch. For myself and a Mr. Arnold Haven, head of the accounting department for Century Styles Incorporated. Mr. Haven, a tall, balding man in a dark suit, had ulcers.
His poached egg and dry toast didn't interest him too much.
What's going to happen to Forbes?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Haven. That depends on several things. Right now, I have to tell you that it looks like he'll go to prison. Worse than that, it looks like he wants to go to prison. He's waived trial.
Prison. That's too bad. Too bad. I always liked Sheldon Forbes.
You hired him, did you, Mr. Haven?
Yes, I hired him. He was a good man right from the start. He did his job, and he did it well. I never had a complaint against Forbes.
Why do you suppose he stole the money?
You've got me, Mr. Dollar. We paid him the going rate. That's a good salary for accountants. He seemed happy enough with it. Whether he knew he was in line for substantial raises.
Uh-huh.
I could understand it in a way if he had a family and heavy responsibility. Or if he played the market, or if he gambled. But Forbes, he just baffles me.
Yeah, it baffles me, too.
Huh? Oh, yes. Well, the people around the office, they're pretty upset about this.
Any particular people, Mr. Haven?
Everybody.
But anyone in particular? A girl, for instance.
Oh, a girl, yes, I see. What? No.
Did he go out with any girl in your office?
No, most of them are married. No, at least as far as I know, Forbes didn't go with any of the girls there. He kept to himself. Oh, he might have lunched with one or the other now and then, but... No, he more or less kept to himself.
Uh-huh. Well, the reason I asked you, Mr. Haven, is that what little I've been able to find out about his personal life isn't very helpful. My company wants the money back. We're willing to give him a fair break if we can get it back. And he's pretty stubborn about cooperating.
Yes, we know about that, Mr. Dollar.
But how can we give him a break if he doesn't want us to? And we can't find out anything about him. Look, if there's anything you can think of, any reason he might have had for taking the money.
And I've racked my brain. I can't think of any reason. No, wait a minute. Just a minute. I did notice a change coming Forbes. It was about a month or 6 weeks ago. Oh, it was nothing really. It was just, I guess, an anxiety about him.
Well, he took all the money within the last 4 weeks. Would that correspond?
Roughly, yes.
Well, that's a start. I hope. I returned to the accounting offices of Century Styles with Mr. Haven and spent 2 hours questioning different members of his staff regarding Sheldon Forbes. His habits and his personality were pretty much the same as Haven himself had described them. Expense account item 7, $4, gasoline. I put a tank full of gas in my rented car and went over to an apartment on 59th Street where Sheldon Forbes had lived. According to the penciled note above the first door to the right of the entrance, Mrs. Anastasia Konopka was the manager.
Yes, what is, please?
You're Mrs. Konopka?
Yes. What do you want, mister?
I understand Mr. Sheldon Forbes lives here. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Bad. I hear he steals monies. Bad. He not in jail, I think.
Yes, I know about that, Mrs. Konopka. I'm from the insurance company, and we're involved in this case. We're trying to recover some of that money if we can. I wonder if you'd help me.
I fixed dinner for my husband. He's come home from work.
It won't take long.
What I do?
Well, I want to know about Sheldon Forbes.
What?
The works, Mrs. Konopka. Did he drink, gamble? Did he stay in nights or go out? Did he pay his rent?
He always pay his rent. You are policeman?
An insurance investigator.
Please, sometime else. Maybe you speak to my husband. He speak much better than me.
But it's important now.
I talked to Mr. Forbes on telephone. He called me from jail. He say I no have to answer any questions.
No, you don't have to answer any questions, Mrs. Konopka. But I'd sure appreciate it if you would.
My husband home pretty soon. You ask him.
You can help him, possibly. Now, would you like to help him in this trouble?
All right, mister, but how I know these things you ask about men who live here?
Well, look, how about his friends? Who visited him?
I cannot say. No visitor.
Was he a good tenant?
No trouble, like Mr. O'Sullivan on 3rd floor. Mr. O'Sullivan always drunk. Called police twice. Mr. Forbes no drink whiskey.
Uh-huh. Did you ever meet his girl?
Girl?
Sure. He had a girlfriend, didn't he?
Oh, I think you mistake. I no ever see girlfriend here.
All right. How long have you known him?
5, 6 years maybe, ever since he moved in here to this place.
But no girl.
No.
Well, how'd he spend his time?
Work. He worked very hard.
No, I mean besides working at the office. How else did Forbes spend his time?
He poor feller, that one.
Huh?
Sure, he steals money, but he poor feller just the same. For him, I feel.
Yeah.
Mr. Forbes, he quiet and he think. I know he live up in that little room quiet and think. He does all time think. No whiskey, no girls. Oh, he paint sometime, listen to music, think. Oh, my husband dinner burn. Please, you go
Well,
now.
just a minute. I'd like to see his apartment if I can.
Oh, no matter. Here. You bring back key, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Konopka. The apartment Sheldon Forbes called home was as dismal as the neighborhood. A tiny closet kitchen, a bed that came out of the wall, a pair of grimy windows that looked across the court onto another pair of equally grimy windows. The furniture was threadbare and dusty. A small ironing board and iron attested to the fact that Sheldon Forbes laundered his own shirts. Other small evidences of frugality were about the premises. A hot plate and a can of souring cream. 2 suits of clothes, neatly brushed and pressed, but inexpensive. The record player and a collection of a half a dozen good albums were the only sign of material accomplishment. The painting materials, easel, canvas, and oils were also inexpensive. No liquor, no jewelry, no expensive clothes. Nothing that cost $4,285 or anything like it.
Oh,
Here's your key, Mrs. Konopka. Thank you very much.
thank you. I thank you. Well, what you think?
I think he's had a very lonely life here.
Oh, Doc, yes. Lonely is the word. Lonely.
Oh, wait, has he got a car?
In back, through alley.
Thanks. It was a Ford, vintage of 1946, tightly locked up. The paint was scaling away, the tires worn down, the mileage 77,000 miles. He certainly hadn't blown the money on a fancy car. Now I felt completely frustrated. Expense account item 8, 79 cents, dinner. I had it in a neighborhood restaurant called the 79er, a place I learned where Sheldon Forbes frequently took his evening meal. The restaurant manager, a man named Alexander Dupulis, remembered Forbes and he liked him. A woman who ran a bakery shop across the street also remembered him as the young man who bought a roll there every night. Probably the roll to go with a lonely cup of coffee in his room the next morning. She liked him, too. All in all, I was getting a composite picture of Sheldon Forbes that didn't look quite right. Whatever he was to the people who knew him casually, he wasn't a man who ever had any money to spend. I dropped in at the city jail about 7:30, and I was surprised to find lawyer Edward Gumby sitting on a bench, briefcase in hand.
Dollar?
Hello, Mr. Gumby.
Nothing new, huh? Well, that's the way it goes, I guess. We had some action today.
Oh?
Yeah. The hearing was this afternoon. Man from the district attorney's office took about 15 minutes to lay out the evidence against Forbes and make the charges.
Uh-huh.
I spent the whole time pleading with Forbes not to go ahead with the waiver.
Did I miss anything?
No, he wouldn't open up at all. Just said he'd spent the money. I couldn't talk him out of the waiver, so it went through.
When will he be sentenced?
They set the date for Friday. I don't know whether they'll get around to it or not.
I'd like to talk to him again. Has he been moved yet?
No.
I thought he'd be transferred to the sheriff's office.
Well, ordinarily he would, but since he waived trial, they announced bail. It's proper procedure in cases like this. Gives him a couple of days to straighten out his affairs.
What? Somebody bailed him out?
I did.
Oh. Has he left yet?
Won't get out till 8. That's when the shift changes. Think it's worth trying to see him?
Yeah, I think I'll stick around, Mr. Gumby. I gotta find out something about this case. An hour later, when Sheldon Forbes emerged from the doorway and turned right, I was following him. When he caught a cab and headed uptown, I caught one and stayed right with him. When he got out at the Empress Theater and walked around to the stage door, I was standing by the alley entrance. 10 minutes later, he came back out, hailed a cab. Once more, I followed. This time, I followed him to his apartment on 59th Street. I waited 15 minutes before I went in. Forbes? Forbes? Hey, Forbes, it's me, Johnny Dollar. I want to talk to you. It took me a few seconds to understand what it was. I got a couple of whiffs of it coming from under his door. Forbes! The room was acrid, stinging with gas fumes, and Sheldon Forbes was stretched down on the floor of his 6-foot kitchen. When I picked him up and carried him out, I didn't know whether he was alive or dead.
There'll be another intriguing episode in our story of the Forbes Matter tomorrow.
Tomorrow, a switch in the case that starts a real chase and a race against time. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
December 28, 1955, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, and contact me there, classicradio.stream. You can also find our programs anywhere podcasts are served, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Just search USA Classic Radio Theater. Have yourself a great day. Thank this radio station, support their advertisers, and tell your friends. The great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite radio station.